What is up YouTube, and today we have another threshold guide for you guys. We have the Aurora threshold guide, as you guys can see on your screen here. And Aurora is of course one of the thresholds or dungeons you can do to farm some gear. And the reason why you want to farm it is because it drops some very good sets which you actually want. So you can see the three main ones on the left side here, the center left, you have Bulwark, Fury, and Momentum. Bulwark is one of the best PvP sets in the game because you'll see at +8 it gives you immunity, which will stop those pesky cleavers or like Mio cleavers and stuff like that. And you also have Fury and Momentum. So Fury is going to be insane for PvP and PvE, just for DPS characters as an 8 set. And Momentum is going to find its use mostly in Doki Doki, anywhere where you are spamming a ton of debuffs. And if you're running like Romoka teams and stuff like that, this is going to be your best bet because you're stacking a ton of debuffs. Now if you're running like Giada and stuff like that, it's not as good to run Momentum because you're stacking buffs, not debuffs. But if you're running like Romoka, then Momentum is insane. You can see at the bottom here, this Romoka is from Inferno clears. You're going to see pretty much 80-90% of Romokas are going to be on Momentum Fury on this count shell from the last shell boss. So, you know, Momentum Fury, insane on Romoka, makes the clear gear requirements a lot lower. Of course, you have Strive and Bloodbath. These are not bad. They're good in PvP. Strive is very, very good for like Holden and stuff like that. Anything that's a defense scaling tank down character. And Bloodbath is also good for bruisers that want to actually stack effect resist or even like cleansers as well, such as Sonya and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people ask, what characters are good? So there's basically 5 different roles, and there's going to be like 2 different team comps you can run. And what I mean by that is you can run like the Inferno team comp, the manual team comp, and like, you know, just if you're trying to push Inferno, you're going to have to run this eventually, in my opinion, which is going to be the main DPS. You're going to run a defense down, and then you're going to run Dispel to dispel the immunity. The boss starts with immunity, and then you're going to run a support, and then you're going to run a sustain. That's like the standard team comp that people run, especially when they're pushing into Inferno, where the fights take a long time. If you are running Hell 3 or Hell 4, you can actually run just a main DPS, and the rest just being supports and sustains. It's really up to you. Personally, if you're just farming Hell for now, I recommend using a main DPS and like 3 supports or 2 supports and 2 sustains, because it just makes the run a lot safer. And Aurora actually does a lot of damage, so it's very important to actually make sure you stay alive. However, it's really up to you. You can run defense down and dispel, it still works. We're still going to talk about the best characters in each role. Now for your main DPS, you have 2 like top tier options. One is going to be just better, and that's going to be Rosa. Rosa is actually very, very good, the best DPS for this. Not because, you know, she's the best in Hell, but, you know, I think Dieting's better in Hell because the boss's health is lower, but once you get into Inferno, Rosa is the best DPS by a large margin. And then of course we have Dieting here, who's also very good. Not really seen as much in Hell because the boss's pool is too high. Dieting actually struggles against very high health bosses, which might surprise a lot of you because you might think like Dieting's like the most broken character ever, which is true once you're like doing Hell. But once you get into Inferno, you'll see Dieting used a lot less, especially in Aurora, mostly because of the element advantage as well. So Rosa, you know, best DPS alongside Dieting, depending on what you're farming, what level. Below that, we have Messiah, Tiamat, and Giada. So these characters are also very solid. You can use them in Inferno as well. Team comps have cleared with these characters. They're just going to play a different play style. Giada needs a lot more buffs. Tiamat's going to play like a super tank down style and the fights take forever. And Messiah just needs like god tier gear. So that's like the difference. But these are still solid choices, really up to you. You can use all 3 of these for Hell as well. Born and also Rin, Blue Rin, very solid options here. You can use them as well. And then Leanne and Chloros are kind of like, you know, not that great, but somewhat used. I would stick to the top 5 if you have them. If you don't have them and you have Blue Rin, you can use her. She's very solid here. She does a lot of damage to the boss. Next, for defense down, there's only honestly one option, and that's Dinah. She's a free-to-play option basically because she's an SR. And because that's kind of what she does, right? She has like a super defense down, which is very, very good. And the reason why she's a lot better than the other one, Holden, is because Holden like has his S3 and S2 he has to go through on auto before he can start defense breaking, unless you get a lucky counter, which is not reliable. So Dinah's just way better. Honestly, you pair them together because Holden, you'll see, is in a different role at the top. But Dinah's like by far the best defense down. You can't really use Gray because he's green. He just kind of dies. And there's no real good like red or blue defense down characters at the moment. So Dinah is like kind of like the premier option until we get a new one. Next, for Dispellers. So Dispelling is very important because the boss has like an immunity shield. And honestly, you probably only want to bring in Dispel if you're planning to bring Dinah. And if you aren't planning to run Dyna or defense down, you might as well just run full supports and sustains. It's just way easier. But Holden is the best as S3. Actually, not Holden's the best. I think these three are like tied for the best. You have Holden, Mia, and Viper. They can all dispel the boss, and they all have a ton of different utility, right? Mia can heal your team. Viper has attack down and speed down, which is great. Holden has attack down, effect resist down, turn meter pushback, and the defense break on his S1. Another good dispeller that's in the support category is Yang, if you want to bring him. He kind of fits both roles very well. He's a very solid choice. And we have Heinrich, who's also decent with his debuff and his dispel. Now for supports, you have a lot of options here. Just stay away from green ones for the most part, besides like Freya. Like Lily's very good, Mia's very good. They have, like I mentioned, Mia has a ton of utility, Lily's just broken. Beyonce's very good with cheat death and her buffs. Yang is very good with his buffs and the fact that he can dispel. Dokidoki's pretty good with her attack and speed buffs. Tsukiyomi's okay. Freya and Chiaki T, especially Chiaki the Echo, I would stay away from. She just kind of gets one shot almost. Freya is usable. I actually use Freya, but you have to keep in mind you do have to build her very tanky and decently fast. And you're going to have to run like 1 or 2 artisan shells so that she doesn't die. Because she is green, she'll take a ton of damage. And once you get into Inferno, you won't be able to use her, so that's why I have her down here. But for Hell, she's a very good character. Now for your sustain characters, you want to use Linglo or Valerian. 2 of them together are very good actually, and Chiaki's a very solid option as well, a free-to-play option. Mia does have some healing, but she's more of a support than a sustain character in my opinion, so I have her here. But Mia does have some healing as well, so if you're running Linglo and Mia, you could probably be fine. Mia and Valerian's probably fine as well. Now for team comps, so this might hurt your eyes, I'm not gonna lie, it hurts mine, but I tried to compile team comps that I found just from recent runs and like top runs, and I just realized it's not centered, so it's kind of bothering me, but we'll just deal with it. So Inferno, you'll see the landscape is a lot different for Aurora, and this will happen in like every single module threshold because the gap from Hell into Inferno is insane, so you have to change your strategy. So for Inferno, you're gonna see that pretty much every comp has Lily at the moment because basically, if you don't have good damage gear, damage gear, Lily makes up for that a lot because she actually will buff your damage dealer by a lot, and she also has a very good speed buff. So without Lily, it's kind of difficult. I think there's like 1 or 2 teams without Lily. Actually, I don't even know if there are right now. I don't know if there are any teams without Lily, which is kind of sad. Basically, you'll see that every single comp in the Inferno comp, which is what I want to point out, runs into spell into a defense break. That's why it's very important, except like the one in the middle bottom. And I guess this one here, it's a tank down comp. So ignore me, you can run the defense break comp or you can run like the sustain comp. But basically, you're gonna see that Linglo's in every single one. So Linglo's like a super important character. Valerian is in almost every single one. You have Mia showing up a lot. And of course you have Lily, right? So Linglo I think is like a must-have character for these runs. Even in Hell, you'll see down here, Linglo's in every single one. The 2 big ones here are kind of like the 2 different comps you'll see. You'll see like the common support comp where you're running one DPS Diting and like his 4 fangirls, or you're gonna see the defense break team here. And there's a ton of other teams you can run down here. It's really up to you. These are not just like theory crafted. These are runs that people actually did on the leaderboards, and it's not just the fastest clears. It's like just people clearing. So really up to you how you want to do it. There's a ton of team comps for Aurora that you can actually run, which is pretty cool. If you want to check it out, you can always click the book when you're looking at the threshold, and you'll be able to see more team comps yourself. Now, some extra tips before I show you my run. You want your supports to be decently fast because this boss has accumulated anger here, and if it stacks up, he gains wrath, and basically you kind of just die. So you want to make sure that he doesn't accumulate these stacks. You want to be very fast and you want to hit him. If your characters are just dying too fast, you probably want to run like 1 DPS with 4 supports. Like I mentioned, that's what I run because I'm a noob. And if you're actually running Dispel and the defense break, make sure you have the Dispel to go first, then the defense break, and then the boss. And now I'll show you the run here that I run. Basically uses this comp in the center here, and you'll see that it's pretty safe and pretty simple. So this is a team that I use. I just use Diting with 4 supports. Honestly, if you're new to the game, this is probably the easier way to do it because you don't need a speed tune as much, and Dispel and defense break and stuff like that. It is pretty gear intensive though. Your Diting needs to be pretty well built because you need to kill the boss in about like 2 minutes. So that does seem to be a problem for some people, like building their Diting. But if you can make it work, it's very good. And even though Freya's green, I have her here because she's just insane at support, and she has like a very good defense buff for your team. Just a very powerful character overall. Now this is just one of the team comps you can run. You can run the more standard one. You can run Dinah instead of Freya here, and you can run like Viper or something instead of Lily or Valerian and do very well as well. But I found this one to just have a higher win rate because you just have a lot of sustain. And I don't really care too much about clear speeds because I have no life and I'm on this game all the time, so I took the safer route. And you're gonna see the artisan shields come in very clutch. Like my team's taking barely any damage, so. You'll see Aurora is not getting a lot of stacks because I'm hitting the boss a lot. You want to make sure your supports are decently fast. That way you drop stacks of his, I think it's accumulated anger. And you see very, very clean, healthy, spectacular run by my support, my Dieting and Friends team. Dieting and Friends is just too good, honestly. And then should go down on the next turn here. Yep, and that is how it rolls. What did I get? Nothing good. I'm going to show you the stats here real quickly. You can see my White Fang in the background here, so you can see the shells. Basically, all you want is like 1 or 2 artisans. I prefer 2, and then you want your characters to be pretty fast, just so you can reduce the stacks on the boss. And if you want to run the 4 support carry team, or if you want to run the defense break dispel team, it's up to you. The 4 support carry team is a lot better in Hell, and once you get into Inferno, you're going to want to switch over, but for farming Hell 4, it's a very, very good team. So these are the stats I run them on. Lingno and Valerian a little bit slower. But if you guys found this video helpful, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.